Hello, and welcome back to How to Art. This is video 007, and as it happens, I had done a live stream update, and I forgot to set my microphone to collect the audio, so I'm doing all of the narration for this video and the next one in post, because no audio was recorded whatsoever. So everything is going to be done sort of bit by bit as I look at what I did and try to explain to you what I did and hope that things go well and that I remember most of what I said before. This is inconvenient for sure, but it happens. I made a mistake, so here's to trying to fix the mistake and just getting stuff done. Anyway, let's see, what am I doing here? I created a new layer because we're gonna start doing the modeling of this character. Now, modeling is not the same thing as shading. In fact, shading is an inadequate term to describe what I'm about to do. Modeling is a art history term, basically, that says anything that is using light and shadow on a figure to give it a three-dimensional image. That's generally the goal here. So anyway, we've got the character here, and we're gonna start doing her modeling, essentially. So I'm gonna be using the entire folder of the colors and creating a new clipped layer to the group. And this will ensure that I'm only coloring on that layer or on the areas that have been colored flat. Control-Alt-G is what will give a layer clipping to the layer that's underneath it. Okay, there's a bit of a pause, and let's see, what am I doing? Yes, creating the smaller sort of preview page because zooming out is important. And here we have the entire, you got the clipping layer, and everything looks set and ready to go. So if I would start, so yes, I dropped from the background to use in the multiply layer to start the shading. And one of the methods that I use early on is zooming out, and then I'm going to allow my vision to sort of go out of focus on the character. That way you can focus on just the lighting. Now, another key thing to remember before you start shading anything is the lights. So I created some guideline arrows for a top-down lighting, and then I changed my mind, and because I like having light at a slight angle, that creates more interesting shadows, personally, than just top-down. Because, that's a personal preference of mine. So once all that is set up, I set the layer on multiply, and I took that color, that multiply helps the color sort of adapt to the colors underneath it, and there's a specific function that multiply has that I'll go into later, I'm sure, because it's a really technical thing of knowing how multiply works and stuff. But anyway, again, it helps if you sort of let your eyes go out of focus a little bit, and very fast you start modeling out where the shadows are on a character. You know, you decide where the light is, and then based on observations you've done before, prior experience, and a lot of practice, you find out where the shadows will be, where they're going to be cast, and you just go quickly, nice and fast. This is all in real time. So this is kind of how fast I'm going, just laying down the shadows. And speed comes with practice, okay? There's a thing that I learned in my karate classes. I do American Kenpo karate, and there's a saying by one of our notable black belts, Mr. Pick: slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. For the longest time, I've worked slowly. Slow and steady. Slow and smooth, especially. So once you get used to sort of the flow of the smoothness, then you can start going faster because you streamline your efforts. So in this way, I have shaded hundreds of characters before. So my slow has become fast because of the smoothness and steadiness of practice. And really, that's kind of the only way to get stuff done. So now here I've got, yes, I'm going to start using my smudge tool. Now, I'm wary of, recommending the smudge tool to novices who, because smudge tool is a bit of a shortcut. All right, it works like a paper stump or tortillon, however you say that, in traditional art when you use it to sort of blend the pencil marks. But if you work carefully enough, then you should be able to blend pencil marks without a paper stump. It's kind of like a crutch if you try to use it too early on. Because this is a multiply layer, and because I've worked with it for a very long time, I've adjusted my smudge tool to mimic the watercolor tool of the paint tool Sai, because I really like that effect. And what's key here is knowing where to blend the characters, which direction to blend the characters, colors. Wow. I'm so focused. I was writing earlier, so I'm thinking in both letters and colors and pixels now. But essentially, you have to learn to get a sense of where the shadows go before you start blending things. Because if you overblend stuff, then it'll end up just looking as flat as it did before you started shading it. So sometimes, you have to fiddle around with the shading as I'm just going back and forth and I'm smoothing it out, and it's layers after layers. Slight warning for the smudge tool. It will take up a lot of processing power if you try to go too fast. I mean, unless you have a really good processor and a decent graphic card. Alright, so I'm just going in and I'm smudging and smudging and smudging. Basically, shading takes time. Like I said in the line art video, don't assume that anything will go by fast. Art is truly a patience game, and it's just something that you just gotta keep working and keep working. And of course, I have a very sort of traditional process mindset when it comes to art. I really like going in and working through all the details and not using a lot of computer shortcuts, because when you let the computer do stuff for you without much control on your part, then it typically doesn't end up the way you want it to. So in any case, I was flip-flopping between choosing screen or soft light. Screen or soft light. I ended up choosing screen for the lighting on the layer styles. And again, making my eyesight blurry and just letting it go out of focus, I start laying down where the light will be hitting a character. Now, right here, you notice that I go back and I erase because there's a cast shadow from Rugni's hood onto her head based on the way the light's hitting her. So it's important to keep an eye on general areas like that so you don't apply light to places that, obviously cannot get that light anymore. Yes. So far, so good. I'm keeping track of the face shape, keeping in mind that the nose actually sticks out a lot more than you would think. And the nose will cast a shadow on the side of the face, and the cheeks have a roundness to them. So you have to also keep that in mind, because the highest point of your cheeks will catch the light, naturally. So again, going really smooth, or rather not smooth at all. It's kind of sloppy and chunky, and I'm just wanting to lay down big swaths of area that catch the light. We are not working at a detail level here. I'm zoomed out to 33% of the entire canvas. And we'll be zooming in in the video after this. So for now, this is just laying down the foundation for the entire figure. And even at this stage, with my lights just about laid down and I'm going to start smudging them soon, you can see the figure start to take form. We're starting to trick our eyes into believing that this is something that has depth, that has mass, that has form, which is why we call this process, or I call this process, modeling, because it's not shading. It's not shading. I'm not shading right now. I'm using tints, which is adding white, and I'm using shades, which is adding black, more or less, to model a character in 2 dimensions. That's the key here. And you may think I'm being really finicky with my words, but I'm finicky for a reason. Like any field of study, art has its jargon, all right? And we have the jargon for a reason, because certain terms need to be used precisely. And yes, I'm going to flip-flop between using said precise terms and my weird sort of thingamajig on the thing and thing type deal, because, there's no art, there's rules and then there isn't rules, and I'm a perfect paradox juxtaposition of both things, because that's what artists are, right? We had to find a way for paradoxes to exist and coexist, not necessarily be self-exclusive or anything like that. And it's just, it reminds me of an article I read a little while back of artists and artistic personalities and creative personalities, and how we are so full of paradoxes that live within us, right? And it was a great article. I'll have to find the link, and I'll see if I can put it into my my comments below, because it's super helpful into understanding how we can work the way we work. How we can be so damn focused on our artwork and yet not be able to read like a paragraph in our textbook without falling asleep for other classes, and how you can have 2 truly opposite ways of thinking coexist perfectly fine without any cognitive dissonance in you. Because as artists, I believe, artists, fine artists and writers, movie makers and all game designers and all that, all the people who, quote unquote, have creative processes, we exist with plenty of contradictions within us. And it's seen as perfectly normal, because that is the creative personality. We have found a way to combine right and left brain, masculine and feminine energies and ways of thinking. And I'm not talking about gender. I'm talking about a mental androgyny. All right, it's a mental thing. It's not even like physical. That's a curious thing among creative people, that we are we can be very androgynous in our way of thinking. We have masculine energies, ways of thinking, meaning complete focus. Like right here, I'm laying down detail shadows, slightly zoomed in, another multiply layer using the same color that I used earlier. And I'm incredibly focused on this, all right? Focused, direct, straightforward. That's all masculine energy, step by step, 1 foot after another, and so on. Whereas we're also able to combine that with feminine energy, which is made up of spirals and curves and taking the scenic route, because it's more pleasant. It's the creative divergent thinking found in, many scientists, even great scientists, with their divergent thinking. Einstein spending time just doing thought experiments, letting his mind use more or less free association as he thought about a concept to create the ideas. As I'm sure, like a lot of people the type of people who'd be watching this video, you probably spent time daydreaming and then later You find a way to put what you developed in your mind onto the paper, an image or something you've written, and so on. And it's just this fascinating way of thinking that artists have. We tend to overthrow stereotypical norms, social norms, because we have such a dual way of thinking that suddenly having this duality, some like girls have to be this way and boys have to be that way and you have to think this way, you find a way to take the best of both and you utilize it. And I don't know, it's just a really fascinating area of study for me. Now, around this time in the video, I had started to talk about lighting effects and how in stage and film, and I think even maybe video games, there are 3 different kinds of lights. All right, there's a key light, which is my arrows on top. That's the main thing that illuminates the figure. There's the fill light, which is just like the ambient light throughout the whole thing. And then you've got the kicker, or the rim light. And the rim light is the opposite side of the key light. And you notice where my brush is right now, here on the opposite end of Rugni's legs, where there's like a sort of bounce light, sometimes it's called. Like if you've got a ball on a desk and the desk is red and the ball is white, then some red will like bounce up onto the ball. It's kind of like that, but it's a less intense light that is used to accentuate a character, give a nice clear silhouette, and separate the character from the background. That is key, unless that's not what you're going for. But typically this sort of 3 light setup is really pervasive throughout industry, films, animations, so on and so forth. And for a good reason, because it works. It's a tried and true method. Learn how to use it, and you will find your lighting of a figure might increase tenfold. You might find significant improvements, and once you understand how it works, then go ahead, break all the rules. Do what you want. Go crazy. Take chances. Make mistakes. And get messy, because those are words to live by. in the next video, I actually tried to figure out that quote for those, and for those of you who don't know, that's a quote from Miss Frizzle and the Magic School Bus. I grew up with the Magic School Bus, among other TV shows, cartoons that I learned from. And that's one of the quotes that has stayed with me, and I actually forgot the quote, so in the next video you'll see me actually go and look up the quote, because I'm like, you know what? I need to know what this is right here, right now, and I don't care if that's gonna take a pause in my detail shading. But anyway, here I am going back in with the smudge tool, and I'm making a new layer, and this one is again on screen, and with a smaller brush I'm gonna go and put in all the basically the highlights. In this case, highlights being the places that catch the most light, because they're the highest point closest to the light. That's what a highlight is. It's a high light. Yes. That makes sense, doesn't it? Hope so. So anyway, yay, Rugni's really taking a good form here, and this video is a little shorter, not as long as some of the other ones. So here we go. Oh yeah, don't forget the curve of the cheek catches some light. Upper part of the cheek catches some light. Our eyes are round, so the round part, something's gonna catch some light. I like illuminating the face a bit more so you can see it clearly. Maybe the lights don't entirely work that way, but I am cheating a little bit. because I know how the face works. And it'll still look right. And here we got highlights of the folds. You know, practicing drawing folds and clothing is good. There's no replacement for practice. I don't care how many things you've seen, if you don't sit down and practice and draw, you're not going to get better. Because this is a thing, another quote I read, there's some things people just don't tell artists that are starting off, because you get into art because you've got good taste, you know what you like, you know exactly what you want it to look like, but you get frustrated because it's not doing the thing that you want it to do, and you don't know how to get it to do the thing that you want it to do because you don't have the experience. And the only way that you can get that experience and live up to your own expectations is to create a massive volume of work. Just keep making stuff, keep finishing stuff. Finishing is important. All right? And if you have a hard time finishing things, here's another thing I read, because I practically live on Stumble Upon self-improvement and quotes page, and psychology. I love psychology. Here's another thing I read. If you want to get stuff finished, creative projects-wise, start small, comma, no, smaller, okay? Whatever you think is small, cut it in half and do just that. Next thing you know, if you continue to do that, your small, quote-unquote small, will turn out to be big, because you would have found a way to break things down, get things finished, and with every taste of something that is finished, you will get more and more confident to create a huge foundation of work. That's what I'm doing here in these videos. The reason I'm limiting myself to only half an hour per video is to get that feeling of, yes, I finished something. Right? And for all the artists and creative people who are watching this now, it's a great feeling. You know it when you feel it. When you look at something that you do, and at the end of this video, I will have finished all the highlights for my character. And yeah, she's far from finished. You know? This is just the underpainting. But I look at it and I'm at the end of the video and I'm like, oh, time's up, but my God, look at what I got done. Look at what I finished. Right? And it's just do whatever you gotta do to put yourself into that way of thinking that encourages you rather than discourages you. And, that's kind of the only way you get things done. Art, creativity, even everything you want to accomplish in life, it's a solitary path. You can have people all around you supporting you, but the most important person in the world to support you is yourself. 'Cause you have to live in the present, and you have to live with yourself. That's just how life is. So, here we go. This is the final, showing you how it's all modeled. You see how it builds on itself? You don't get to the finished product from just the first layer. That's not how it works. That's not how life works. That's not how climbing stairs work. You can't go from the ground floor to the top of the stairs in one step, can you? But you can get to the first step. And from the first, the second reveals itself. And from the second, the third, and so on and so forth. So, basically, what I'm doing here is, check it out. First 4 steps are done. Sure, there's a whole staircase to climb, but there's no need to worry about the last step. Only the step right in front of you. 'Cause you're going to get to a finished piece. Sure, you might take a different staircase once you hit a certain landing, but hey, you'll get there. So I'm starting to run out of time for my narration, so I'll just end by saying I'm going to put the links to my DeviantArt and Tumblr into the comments. If you like this video, please rate, comment, and subscribe, and I will do my best to make sure the audio is on for the future videos. In any case, I will see you guys in the next video. I hope you enjoy, and keep drawing, stay motivated, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.